Okay, one thing about me is when I was a kid, my mom woke me up one morning and said, get out of bed. We just called the radio and won tickets to see your favorite band of all time, the Backstreet Boys. Now, mind you, during this time, we didn't have a lot of money. So under normal circumstances, we wouldn't have been able to go. And so I jumped out of bed screaming and I was so excited. I put on whatever clothes I could find. And then I head outside to the car where I see my mother and my brother laughing at me. They were pointing their fingers and said, ha, ha, ha. I said, what's so funny? They said, it's April Fool's. So there are no tickets? There are no tickets. It was a joke, and a sick fucking joke at that, because fast forward to all the trauma that I now carry. In my 20s, when I lived in Austin, Texas, apparently the radio, they were giving away tickets to the Backstreet Boys tour. And I said, what the hell? I might as well call and try to actually win. And then they said, oh, you are the winner. I said, are you fucking joking? And started crying and laughing at the same time. And they said to me, ma'am, why would this be a joke? And I said, you must not know where I come from. So then I called my mom and I said, guess what? She said, what? I said, haha, April Fools, but actually not, because I won tickets to go see them, and that is not funny at all. Then the radio called me back and said, you also get a meet and greet. I said, are you fucking kidding me? They said, again, ma'am, why would we be joking? So then I told them the story and actually got to meet the Backstreet Boys.
One thing about me is when I was 13, I went to Victoria's Secret for the first time. I was with my friends looking at bras, and I picked up a blue sparkly one, and I was like, wow, this is pretty. And then an old man came up to me and said, I like that. And I said, thank you. I think it's pretty. And then I looked at the price tag and said, but not for that price. Put it down. And the old man said, oh, I can get that for you. And I was really sheltered. So I thought this man was just being really nice. So I let him buy me a bra. And I said, thank you. That was so nice. He said, sure. And kissed me on the cheek. And he asked for my number. But I didn't have a phone yet. So I said, oh, I don't have a phone. You got my mom's number. This man said, what? I said, yeah, I texted through my mom's phone because I don't have one yet. I'm not old enough. And he said, how old are you? I said, I'm 13. How old are you? And this man, and he got really pale. And he turned like this and ran away. And that's the story of how I accidentally conned an old man into buying me a bra.
One thing about me is when I was 19, I went to Florida with my boyfriend at the time. We were going to stay with his friend at his house that was on a lake next to a college. Well, his friend picks us up and he's with some girl that I have never met in my entire fucking life. And this bitch is hammered and hitting on me. So when we get back to the house, I'm thinking, we get a 30 rack of beer and start drinking and go down to the lake to skinny dip. And while we're in the water, she says, hey, can I kiss your girlfriend? To my boyfriend. And he's like, hell yeah, that sounds hot. And I'm like, hell yeah, why the fuck not? And so we start making out, and I'm surprised how much I like it, and I feel onto her body just a little bit. We make out for an hour, and then I look over there and I see my boyfriend looking a little upset. And so I'm like, one moment, and I swim over to him and I'm like, hey, are you all right? And he's like, why the fuck do you like that so much? I thought you were just doing it for fun. Are you gay? And I'm like, whoa, we're just hanging out. And he's like, fine, I'm going to bed. And so I'm like, all right, guys, I'll see you tomorrow. And I start running after him towards the house. Well, he looks really mad. And I'm like, yo, what did I do? You said it was fine. You thought it was hot. And he's like, I swear to God, you're a stupid fucking whore. And if I find out I'm breaking up with you. And I am shocked because in the 2 years we were dating, this man hadn't even so much as raised his voice. When we get back to the room, he's still screaming at me. And I realize I need to throw up, but he won't let me throw up, and so I throw up on the floor, and he tells me I'm a dumb bitch and a stupid whore. So I jump into the bed, pull the covers over my head, and he's like, if you don't clean this shit up, we're done. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck. And so I literally just went to bed, and the next morning I woke up and he was staring at me like he wanted to actually slit my throat. And so self-preservation kicked in, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I fucking did that. And he's like, it's okay, like you've apologized, like I appreciate that. And then literally 6 months later, he cheated on me with a 60-year-old man. So, internalized homophobia.
One thing about me is my husband and I almost got arrested on our wedding night. We were going to the hotel after our reception and it was like 12 at midnight. So we get to the hotel and we go straight to our door because we had contactless entry on like the Hilton app. We couldn't get in our room, so we go to the front desk and the lady's like, yeah, I need to check your IDs. So she checked our IDs and she's like, you can't get in your room because you're 20 and you're not 21. And keep in mind, I was literally in my wedding dress. Like, it's our wedding night. Can we get in our hotel room? And she's like, no. So we call up my in-laws and they're like, no, this is not happening. So they drive an hour to our hotel and they go up to the lady and they're like, the room is under our name. Like, can we get into the room? Like, hello? And she's like, no, because I know you're gonna give it to those kids and you're gonna let them in the room, so you're not allowed in the room. So my in-laws are like, okay, well, can we at least have our money back? And she's like, no, you can't. And they're like, well, show us in the policy where it says, first of all, you have to be 21, because on the Hilton website, it says you have to be 18. So we're like really confused. So she gets all flustered and she calls the police, and the police show up and they start knocking on our car window because we weren't inside the lobby like my in-laws were. And the police are like, let me see your driver's license. And so they take down our driver's license in their system. And if they're like, if you ever show up on this ground, like these hotel grounds again, you're gonna be arrested. And we're like crying in our car, like, where do we go? Because we're not 21. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, one thing about me is that 4 years ago, I went in a sex shop and got paparazzi with my husband named Daryl, despite his Junie. And it was embarrassing. Ha ha ha, not what you think. No, it wasn't. It wasn't for us. I mean, we get pretty freaky, but not like too much. It was for a friend who was too shy to get a vibrator and lube, so I bought it for her. But the sad thing was, my husband decided to wear his feet shoes, and the paparazzi got a picture of it. Oh no, the world saw, and it was after a workout. We didn't look good, we kinda looked sad, and it went viral. My mother was pissed, but it's okay, my friend had good sex, so it was worth it in the end. Ha 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 ha.
One thing about me is when I was young, I ate my baby blanket. Yes, you heard that right. I literally consumed it. Well, not the whole thing. I left this tiny nub. Before I could eat the rest, my mom said, Kirby, stop. So she went out and bought me a second one. Then she sewed on the original to the new. Well, you guessed right, I started to eat this one too. And to make matters worse, I literally named this thing after an illegal substance that I can't say on this app. So I'd be at the store saying, Mom, I need my... And people would look at my mom and say, do I need to call the Child Protective Services? What is this little kid talking about that she needs her?
Okay, one thing about me is when I was younger, my dad had a lot of girlfriends and I hated them all because they were all terrible people and they were fucking crazy except for one who seemed to be kind of decent. So eventually she moves into my house with me, my brother, and my dad because she had nowhere to live, and her 3 children move in with us as well. What the fuck? I have to share a room with a 4-year-old child. Not cool. And I was 14 at the time, and I was super upset. But eventually, they were together for like under a year, and me and these children grow a bond. But then my dad and her break up. My brother and I don't really care because she was kind of crazy. But then one day, my dad walks into the house from work. He tells me and my brother to sit on the couch. We both sit on the couch. We're super confused because we never have family conversations. My dad sits down with us and he starts crying, to which he tells us that she has cancer. My brother and I are like, what? She has cancer? And then 30 minutes later, she shows up with no hair. She shaved her head off. We were super confused and I felt so bad because this woman with 3 children has been diagnosed with cancer. So she comes in, we all have a hug, we have a chat, and they get back together. She moves back into the house because again, she had nowhere to live. The children move back in, but then eventually we find out that her breast implants had been making her sick. She had been shaving her hair off so that it looked like she had cancer. And I believed her and my brother believed her. And I don't know if my dad knew, but she was lying about having fucking cancer and she was just sick because of her breast implants. And then my dad had to pay to get her breast implants taken out. And then they broke up.
One thing about me is that when I was 10, I went to India to visit my family. And when I was 10, I had this problem where I refused to shit outside my own house. Actually, I still have this problem, but that's not the point, so let's get back to the story. So because I refused to shit, I didn't shit for about 2 weeks. And then one day I really had to shit, so I went to the toilet of my grandma's house and I tried to shit. But what happened was I couldn't shit cause I was constipated and I was in a lot of pain. So I screamed for my mom and she came in and she took a piece of tissue and she tried to pull the shit out of my ass. But because I hadn't shed for 2 weeks, there was a lot of shit stuck inside of me. So even after pulling out my shit, I still had to shit even more. So what I did was squeeze even harder, but it was not enough to get the shit out. So my family decided to go to a hospital and see a doctor. So yes, we went to a hospital, but because I had shit a little before, my ass was dirty and full of shit. So when I put my pants, it was also full of shit. But that's okay. So I went to the doctor and she said, oh, I have to inject something up your ass. And I said, okay, fine. So she injected something up my ass. And then the injection made me want to shit even more. And then I asked her, can I use the toilet? And she said, okay, sure. But then her toilet was the most freaking disgusting thing I ever seen. But then I I was so urgent to shit, then I didn't care. But when I went to shit, it still didn't wanna come out. So my mom propped me up on the toilet and pushed my stomach while I took a shit. After 30 freaking minutes, the shit finally came out. Thank you.